What's up guys, Rhen here with another Pixel Starships guide. Today we're going to be talking all about crew. We'll talk about why crew is important to your ship, what are the key roles that your crew will be filling, and what are the key attributes and stats to successfully fill those roles. So with that, let's get into it. Alright guys, today we're going to be talking about crew and why crew is important. So I may have mentioned in the past, there's a lot of pillars of development or ways that you can improve at Pixel Starships, and crew/equipment is definitely one of those ways. Some would argue that crew is the most important of these pillars of development, but I would say it's definitely one of the most important. Imagine you and your opponent both have 3 lasers shooting at each other, but your lasers shoot twice as fast and do twice as much damage as your opponent's. Guess who's going to win? You are. This is exactly what crew has the power to do. Okay, so what are the roles that we're going to be trying to fill with our crew? We'll talk about how to optimize these and how many you might have for each of them, but to start out with, we'll look at what is the thing we're actually wanting our crew to do. The first role is going to be repairing. You're going to get shot, your rooms are going to get damaged. You're going to need to repair those rooms for 2 reasons. One is so that your ship can keep fighting. The second is because when your room dies, all the damage that the enemy does to you goes to your hull, and that's what blows up your ship. The second role we'll talk about is boosting. This is when a crew is stationed in a room to make that room operate better. This could mean a laser shoots faster or a shield recharges faster, basically making your ship work better. The third role is going to be boarding and anti-boarding/defense. This is when you send crew over to your enemy ship to blow stuff up, or when you have crew to stop their boarders from blowing your stuff up. Finally, rush-type crew can immediately make a room available to fire at the start of a battle or anytime later on in the battle that you choose, which can really open up a lot of options tactically for you. Gives you a jump start against your opponent and can really make a lot of different strategies viable. So we're going to dive into these 4 roles, looking at what are the key attributes you would want in a crew to fulfill each of these roles, and then look at what are some good crew to do these when you're first starting out in Pixel Starships. Okay, so first we're going to look at the repair crew role. So what is a repair crew really going to be doing? Well, they're not going to do a whole lot until they need to do some repairing. And then what are they going to do? They're going to run across your ship, find the damaged room, run into that room, repair it, and then probably run away. So what are the attributes that would make a repair crew good at their job? Well, the first one is you're going to need a decent amount of health, because it's highly likely that during some point in the battle, this crew is going to be standing in a room that's still being shot. So the more HP they have, they're going to be able to stand in rooms longer while repairing. They're going to be able to last longer throughout the battle. And the longer they survive, the longer your ship can operate and thrive. The repair stat is how much HP the crew can repair with 1 repair tick, which happens every 1 second. So the higher the repair stat is, the less ticks of repair it will take for your crew to finish repairing. Again, that's good for 2 reasons. The first is your room gets repaired faster. The second is they have to spend less time standing in a room that's getting shot at. The third attribute that's super helpful is a high walk speed or a high run speed. Your crew is usually not going to be in the room that's getting shot. In fact, you don't want them to be in the room that's getting shot, but when a room does get shot, they need to run over to it, get inside of it so they can repair it. The higher walk speed or run speed your crew have, the faster they can respond to the situation, get to the room where they need to be, get in and get out. Alright guys, so how does walk and run speed actually work? Well, check it out. So you can open up any crew, just click on their profile. Down at the bottom here, you'll see 3 things that are going to be important. One is the stamina, one is the walk speed, and one is the run speed. So the way this works is walk speed and run speed are how fast your crew is going to walk and run. As soon as the battle starts, your crew is going to run. There's no command you can do to change walk or run. They're going to run at the beginning of the battle until they run out of stamina, and after they run out of stamina, then they'll switch to walk speed. So if you have a crew with no stamina, they'll never run. They'll always start out at their walk speed and do that all the time. Or if you have, 1, 2, 3 stamina, they'll run for a little while, and then they'll switch over to walk speed once they've run out of stamina. So what's a good walk speed and what's a good run speed to have? Well, kind of the average is a walk speed of 1 and a run speed of 2. But there are some crew that have higher walk and run speeds. For example, I can open up this Willy. He has a walk speed of 2. So that means he walks at the same speed that other characters usually run. So that's pretty powerful. That's what makes him great at responding to situations all around your ship. Now you can see his run speed is also 2, which means on this character, stamina is useless because running is no better than walking. Later on in the game, we'll also start to see a lot more fire used from missiles and from crew that can start fires. So later on, crew with a high fire resist is going to be valuable for those types of situations. The next role is our boost crew. Now when we say boost crew, this can really boost a lot of different things based on which stat the crew has. So every crew has a series of stats, and some of them have really good stats in some areas and not as good stats in other areas. Typically, you'll select a crew to boost the room based on which stats they have. For example, if you want your lasers to shoot faster and do more damage, you would want to choose a crew with a high weapon stat and have them stationed in that room. If you want to work on your defense and make your shield charge faster, protecting you from the enemy, you would want to choose a crew with a high science stat. Perhaps you're worried about missiles coming from the enemy and you want to boost up your engines. Well, you can pick a crew with a high engineering stat, station them with your engines, and it will increase the dodge chance that you get from your engine room. So in each of these examples, what's going to matter is what the relevant level of stat is for whatever room the crew is stationed in, which is to say, if somebody is stationed in a laser, it's really only their weapon stat that matters for boosting that laser. It doesn't matter what their science, what their engineering stats are, only the relevant stat is going to count towards boosting the room that they're stationed in. So if you ever forget or you're ever curious about which stat boosts a particular room, you can click on the room, click on either profile, or if it needs upgrading, you can click upgrade, it doesn't really matter. And you can check down here, it'll say support stat, and it'll either say science, weapon, engineering, or pilot. So typically that means players will have different specialists. Some crew will specialize in boosting weapons rooms, some will boost science rooms, some engineering rooms, perhaps some the hangar. You can see how you can put together a crew to accommodate whatever strategy you're using. In terms of how the boost stats actually affect the relevant room that they're stationed in, it's just a simple percentage. So for example, if you have two crew that are 20 weapon stat each in the same room, they'll boost the reload speed of the weapon 40%. If your crew stat adds up to 100, it'll boost it by 100%, meaning that it will reload twice as fast and fire twice as often. There are some other stats and abilities that are going to make your crew even more useful, such as having decent HP, because every room is eventually going to get shot at, and the higher HP your crew has, the longer they can stand there and boost the room before they die. As you get farther and farther into the game, you'll find boost crew that has really good abilities, special abilities, things like providing healing to those that are in the room, or perhaps providing anti-border defenses for enemies that run through the room, things like that. So these types of skills that you'll find later on are going to make your crew even more flexible for meeting multiple roles, but for now we're really going to focus on these boost stats. The third role we'll talk about is going to be the rusher role. Now this role will be a lot more prevalent once you get later into the game for a couple of reasons. One is that the rush stat really gets stronger when you have good equipment, when you have access to the highest and most advanced levels of training from your gym, and once you're able to get your crew up to level 40. When you first start the game, you don't have any of those three things, but you can still see what the rush stat is, how it works, and why it would be valuable and powerful. The rush stat increases the charge of a room and gets it closer to being ready to discharge. So what does that mean? Well, if they're in a laser and they have a rush stat of 100 and they use their ability, that laser is now instantly ready to fire. If you have 3 crew and they all have a rush stat of 100, they can walk through and they can make your laser shoot instantly 3 times in a row. You can see how that would be pretty powerful, and you can use this on any room. There's a couple exceptions with cooldowns, but for the most part, you can use these rush crew on pretty much any room. So you could immediately launch all your crafts out of your hangar. You could charge up your shield. You could charge up your photon to destroy the enemy's shield. So you can see there's a lot of flexible ways to use these, but the rush ability is very powerful. Now, the rush ability can only be used one time, just like any other special ability. And so after that, there are other things that can still make this crew useful, such as secondary stats that can help fulfill other roles. So perhaps your rusher can be a repairer after they rush, or maybe they can be a booster and be stationed in a room somewhere and make that room stronger. So again, this is really more of a middle to end game item, but wanted to introduce you guys to the idea because you will see the rush ability on some of the crew we'll talk about in the beginning of the game. The final role we'll talk about is boarding and defense crew. This is crew that doesn't really care about their stats in terms of boosting. All they really care about is going to the enemy ship and blowing stuff up, or conversely for defense crew, staying in your ship and stopping the enemy's boarders from blowing your stuff up. So what's important to boarders or defense crew? Well, things like HP, attack, and good abilities. Things that are going to make them better at fighting hand-to-hand against other crew. Those are going to be the things you want to focus on for your boarders and for your anti-border defense crews. So before we get too far into crew, it's important to talk about what are the tiers of crew. So there are 1-star through 5-star crew, and there are also special crew and legendary crew. Now, for 1-star through 5-star, as you can see in these examples here, there are these little yellow shiny diamond type things, because they're not really stars. Maybe we should call it 5 diamond crew. Anyway, the point is you can have 1 star, 2 stars, 3 stars, 4 stars, or 5 stars, and in general, the more stars they have, the better that crew is going to be. Now, there are some exceptions in terms of there are some 4-star crew that are super useful, and you'll see people using them all the time, but for the most part, more stars is more better. There's 2 levels of crew above the 5-star crew. One is the special crew. It has this little shield looking thing. Not really sure why it looks like a shield or why it's called special, but it's the next thing up after 5-star crew before we get to legendary. The special crew typically can be found through in-app purchases. That's really the main place that you can get the special crew from, or from the Dove reward store from the tournament rewards. Finally, the most powerful tier of crew is going to be the legendary. You can see that this legendary has this like eagle bird thing, and it's got a bird on it, so you know it's good. Legendary crew is only accessible once you get to level 10, because you can't draw it or get it from somewhere. You have to actually create it yourself through the prestige process, which is combining 2 5-star crew together to make 1 legendary crew. And we'll have several videos talking about that a little later on, but for now just realize that it's super good crew. It's what you're going to be focusing on in the end game, and it's going to take a long time to make. So today we introduced crew, talked about why it's good, talked about the different roles. In the next episode, we'll be looking at what is the best early game crew that you should be trying to get, how you get it, and what are some tips that can save you some time and heartache. Alright guys, so if you've watched any of my Pixel Starships videos, you know how critical it is to join a good fleet and a good fleet alliance. So if you're looking for a home in Pixel Starships, the Trek Alliance is a top-tier alliance featuring the Trek Federation, which has been one of the top 3 fleets in the world for the past 3 years. This is a place where some of the top players in the game will help teach you about strategy and game mechanics, helping to improve your experience and help your ship get stronger. Whether you're brand new to the game or whether your division is superstar, the Trek Alliance has a fleet that's right for you. So if you want to make some new friends or get better at this game, come check out our public Discord at bit.ly/TrekFederation.